Lena Parker had always been the responsible one in her family. At 25, she was working long hours as a waitress, saving every dollar she could for nursing school. Her younger sister, Mia, was different, carefree, always chasing fun, and never worrying about money. Still, Lena loved her deeply. When she moved back home to cut expenses, she thought it would be nice to spend more time together and rebuild their bond as sisters. Every night, after her shift, Lena would come home tired but proud. She'd take off her apron, count her tips carefully, and slide them into an envelope she kept in her dresser drawer. It wasn't much, but it was hers. Every dollar in that envelope meant one step closer to her dream. Mia knew about it. Lena had even told her once how excited she was to finally pay for her nursing classes. Mia smiled and said she was proud of her, and Lena believed it. One Friday night, after a long 12-hour shift, Lena came home to an empty, quiet house. She went to her room, planning to add her tips to the envelope. But when she opened the drawer, her hands froze. The envelope was gone. Her heart dropped. She searched the drawer again, pulling everything out, clothes, papers, small trinkets, but it wasn't there. Panic started to rise in her chest. She tore through her entire room, hoping she had just misplaced it. But deep down, she knew that wasn't true. She sat on her bed, trying to breathe, trying to think. The only people who had been in the house that day were her parents and Mia. Her parents never entered her room. Her hands trembled as she picked up her phone and called Mia. "Hey, have you been in my room?" she asked, trying to sound calm. Mia laughed softly. "Why would I go in your room? What's going on?" Lena told her about the missing envelope. Mia quickly denied everything. "Lena, you're being paranoid. You probably lost it." Something about her tone felt off. Later that night, Lena went into the kitchen for water and noticed Mia's brand new shopping bags on the counter. They were from expensive stores Lena could never afford. Her heart sank further. She walked to Mia's room and saw the tags from new clothes scattered on the bed. Still, she said nothing. She just stood there quietly, realizing that her sister, the one she trusted most, had betrayed her. Lena went back to her room and sat in the dark. It wasn't just about the money. It was the feeling that someone she loved could do something so cruel and selfish. She didn't cry that night. She just stared at the wall, her chest heavy and her eyes dry. For the first time, she saw her sister not as family, but as a stranger. And in that moment, something inside her changed forever. Lena had been working almost every day at the small diner on the corner of Maple Street. She was always the first to come in, and often the last to leave. Most people would have been exhausted, but for her, every extra hour meant more savings. She didn't waste a single dollar. Every tip she got went straight into a small white envelope in her drawer, the one thing that kept her motivated. That envelope wasn't just money, it was her dream. It held the $4,000 she needed to finally start nursing school, something she had been working toward for years. That Friday evening felt like any other. The diner was busy, and by the time Lena finished cleaning up, her feet ached. She smiled anyway, thinking about adding the day's tips to her savings. When she got home, the house was quiet. She went to her room, set her bag down, and pulled open the drawer where she always kept the envelope. But it wasn't there. At first, she didn't panic. She thought maybe she had moved it when cleaning or left it in another spot. She searched her desk, under her pillow, even inside old notebooks. Nothing. Her heart started to beat faster. She opened the drawer again, hoping she had missed it, but the space was empty. The envelope, her months of hard work, her future, was gone. Lena sat on the floor, confused and scared. She tried to think of any possible reason it could be missing. She trusted everyone in her family. Her parents rarely entered her room, and Mia had never seemed interested in her savings. But something felt off. The drawer didn't look the way she left it. The pile of papers she usually kept on top was slightly moved, and her pen holder was turned sideways. Her breathing grew unsteady. She pulled everything out again, checking every corner of the room. She even looked behind the dresser and under her bed, though she already knew it was pointless. The envelope was gone. Completely gone. She sat back, her hands shaking, staring at the empty space. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. She thought about all the nights she came home tired but proud, how she counted those crumpled bills carefully, dreaming about a better life. Now all of it had vanished. Her stomach twisted with dread. She didn't want to believe someone had taken it, but there was no other explanation. Lena leaned against the wall, trying not to cry. Her mind was racing. What would she do now? All those long shifts, all the missed weekends, every sacrifice she made gone in a second. The silence around her felt painful. She whispered to herself, "Please no. Not like this." Deep down, she already knew it wasn't a mistake. Something was wrong, very wrong. And whoever had done this had taken more than her money. They had taken her trust, and that loss hurt most of all. Lena sat on her bed for a long time, staring at the empty drawer. The thought of her sister being involved kept crossing her mind, even though she didn't want to believe it. Still, she needed answers. That evening, when Mia came home laughing on the phone, carrying a drink in her hand, Lena decided she couldn't stay silent anymore. She waited until Mia hung up and said quietly, "Hey, can we talk for a second?" Mia sighed, already sounding annoyed. "What is it now?" Lena swallowed hard, her voice trembling a little. "Did you take the money from my drawer? The envelope I kept for my tuition, it's gone." Mia froze for a second, then scoffed. "What? Are you serious right now?" "I'm serious," Lena said. "You're the only one who's been in the house. Please, if you took it, just tell me." Mia's face changed. Her tone grew sharp. "Why would I take your stupid money, Lena? You always think you're better than me because you work all the time. Maybe you just lost it." The words stung. Lena tried to stay calm, but her voice cracked. "Mia, please. It took me months to save that. Just be honest." Before Mia could reply, their mother entered the room, frowning. "What's going on here?" Lena turned toward her. "Mom, I think Mia." Her mother interrupted before she could finish. "Lena, don't start. How could you accuse your own sister of stealing? That's not right. You probably misplaced it. Stop making drama." Lena felt her heart sink. Her eyes burned with tears she tried to hold back. "Mom, I didn't lose it. I checked everywhere." But her mother's expression didn't change. "Enough. I don't want to hear another word about this." Mia stood behind her, crossing her arms, looking offended but calm. Lena saw the faintest smirk appear on her sister's face when their mom turned away. That small expression said everything Lena needed to know. That night, Lena stayed in her room, unable to eat, unable to sleep. Her mother had taken Mia's side, and now she felt like the bad one, like she'd done something wrong for even asking. The thought that her own sister could betray her and lie so easily made her stomach ache. She sat on her bed, the room quiet except for the faint hum of the street outside. Her eyes were puffy, her hands clenched. She wondered if she was imagining it all. Maybe she had misplaced it somehow. But then something caught her attention. Through the crack of her door, she saw the faint glow of light coming from Mia's room. Curiosity pulled her up. She walked over softly and peeked inside. On Mia's dresser sat a glossy shopping bag from an expensive boutique downtown. One Lena could never afford to even step into. The tag on the bag still hung from a brand new dress. Her chest tightened. She didn't need any more proof. The truth was right there, shining in front of her. Mia had taken her money, lied to her face, and let everyone believe she was crazy. And in that moment, Lena felt something in her break for good. Lena stood by the doorway of Mia's room, staring at the shopping bag. Her heart was pounding, but she didn't say a word. She quietly walked away before Mia noticed her. She needed to be sure before she accused her again. The next morning, when everyone had left for work and Mia was still asleep, Lena went back into her sister's room. She wasn't proud of it, but she needed the truth. The room smelled like expensive perfume. Clothes were scattered across the bed, brand new, with shiny tags still attached. Lena looked around carefully, her hands shaking slightly. That's when she noticed the trash bin beside the dresser. She bent down and started sifting through it, feeling both angry and heartbroken. At the bottom, crumpled up, was a receipt. She smoothed it out with trembling fingers, and when she saw the numbers printed on it, her stomach dropped. Total, $3,875. Paid in cash. The store name matched the boutique bag she had seen the night before. There it was, proof of everything. Her chest tightened as she stared at the paper. It wasn't just about the money anymore. Mia had taken something much bigger. She had stolen Lena's hard work, her effort, her future. Lena sat down on the floor, the receipt still in her hand. Her mind was spinning. She thought about how easily Mia had lied, how their mom had defended her, how she had made Lena feel crazy for even asking. The betrayal stung deeper than she ever thought possible. For years, Lena had looked out for her sister, covered for her mistakes, and supported her when no one else did. And this was what she got in return. She wanted to storm into Mia's room and scream, to throw the receipt in her face and demand an apology. But then she stopped herself. Confronting her wouldn't change anything. Mia wouldn't feel guilty. She'd just lie again or play the victim. Lena realized that shouting would only make her look bitter, and Mia would move on without learning anything. So, instead of reacting, Lena made a decision. She folded the receipt neatly and tucked it into her pocket. She wouldn't cry. She wouldn't beg for her money back. If Mia could betray her once, she could do it again, and Lena refused to give her another chance. From that day, something inside her grew stronger. She decided she was done being the one who cared more. For the rest of the week, Lena acted normal. She went to work, came home, and barely spoke to Mia. When her sister bragged about her new things, Lena just smiled quietly. But behind that calm look, she was already planning her next move. She wasn't sure what she would do yet, but one thing was clear. She would make sure Mia understood what it felt like to lose something precious. Not through anger or revenge, but through silence and distance. That would be her answer, and her power. In the days that followed, Lena stopped trying to talk to Mia. She didn't argue, didn't ask questions, and didn't bring up the money again. Instead, she went quiet. Her voice softened, her smile faded, and she kept her distance. At home, she moved through her days like a shadow, polite, calm, but far away. Mia didn't seem to notice. She was too busy showing off her new things. Every few days, another shopping bag appeared in her room. Expensive shoes, a new purse, a shiny watch. She posted pictures to friends, laughing and bragging like nothing was wrong. Lena watched quietly. Inside, her feelings were a mix of sadness and disbelief. She couldn't understand how Mia could act so normal after what she'd done. But the anger that had burned so hot at first began to cool into something else, determination. She promised herself she would not let this destroy her. If Mia could betray her, Lena could rebuild her life without her. She decided she would leave, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. She began picking up extra shifts at the diner, telling her boss she needed the hours. He didn't ask questions, just nodded and appreciated her hard work. Every paycheck, Lena put away what she could, starting a new envelope, hidden this time where no one would ever find it. Late at night, when everyone was asleep, she quietly packed small things into boxes, her books, her clothes, her photos. She didn't want anyone to notice yet. Her parents asked her once why she seemed so tired lately. Lena smiled and said softly, "I just need to figure some stuff out." They didn't push further. They thought she was just stressed from work. Only Lena knew she was preparing for something bigger, freedom. Mia, on the other hand, continued to live like the world owed her everything. She strutted around in her new heels, talking about shopping trips and parties. She didn't notice the way Lena's eyes had changed, calm but colder now. She didn't see that her sister had stopped caring about what she thought. To Mia, life was still a game. But to Lena, it was a lesson. Every night, when she came home from work, Lena walked past Mia's room and caught glimpses of the designer bags piled on the floor. For a moment, it used to hurt, a reminder of what she'd lost. But after a while, it didn't anymore. She realized that those things didn't mean happiness. They were just things. Temporary, shallow, empty. Weeks passed and Lena's boxes slowly filled up. She had saved enough to rent a small place of her own. One night, as she zipped her last suitcase, she looked around the room that had held so many memories, both good and painful. She took a deep breath and smiled faintly. Patience, she thought, really was the best revenge. Because while Mia flaunted what she'd stolen, Lena was already building something real, a new beginning. When the day finally came for Lena to move out, she didn't make a big announcement. She packed her last box, loaded it into her coworker's car, and left quietly. No tears, no arguments, just peace. She moved into a small apartment on the edge of town with her friend Sarah, who also worked at the diner. The place was small, with creaky floors and thin walls, but to Lena, it felt like freedom. She could finally breathe without walking on eggshells. Life wasn't easy, though. The bills were tight, and Lena had to work even harder to keep up. She took a second job at a coffee shop nearby and still kept her shifts at the diner. Her days started before sunrise and ended long after dark. But every night, as she lay in bed, she felt proud. For the first time in a long while, her life was truly hers. Instead of nursing school, she enrolled in community college part-time, choosing a slower but steady path. It wasn't what she had originally planned, but it was still a step forward. She studied during her breaks, ate cheap takeout, and learned to enjoy the little things, quiet mornings, simple meals, and the comfort of her own space. She missed her parents sometimes, but she didn't reach out often. It was easier to keep her distance than to reopen old wounds. Months went by, and Lena started to feel stronger. She no longer thought about the stolen money every day. She had let it go, or at least tried to. Then, one evening after her shift, her phone rang. It was her mother. Her voice sounded tense, almost panicked. "Lena, honey, I need to talk to you about Mia," she said. Lena's stomach tightened at the mention of her sister's name. "What happened?" she asked quietly. Her mother sighed heavily. "She's in a mess. She lost her job a few weeks ago. Apparently, she's been living on credit cards and, well, now she's in debt. Thousands of dollars. She's been calling me nonstop, begging for help. I thought maybe you could talk to her." Lena stayed silent for a few seconds. Her mother continued. "She's scared, Lena. She doesn't know what to do. Maybe if she heard from you." Lena interrupted softly. "Mom, I can't fix this for her." There was a long pause. Her mother didn't argue, just said quietly, "I understand. I just thought you should know." After the call ended, Lena sat there for a while, staring at her phone. A part of her felt sorry for Mia, not out of love, but out of pity. The girl who once took what wasn't hers was now facing the consequences of her choices. Lena didn't feel joy in that, just a calm, distant understanding that life had a way of teaching lessons no one else could. She turned off her phone, got ready for bed, and looked around her small apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers, built with honesty, patience, and hard work. And that was something Mia could never steal. A few days after that phone call, Lena got a message from Mia. It was short and shaky. "Can we meet? Please. I need to talk." For a moment, Lena considered ignoring it. She had built a calm, quiet life, and she didn't want old wounds reopened. But something in her still wanted closure, not forgiveness, just final peace. So she agreed. They decided to meet at a small cafe downtown. When Lena arrived, she spotted Mia immediately. She was sitting by the window, staring into a half-empty cup. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled, and the confident spark she used to carry was gone. For a second, Lena almost didn't recognize her. The sister who once flaunted designer handbags now looked lost and defeated. Mia looked up as Lena approached. Her eyes were red and tired. "Thanks for coming," she whispered. Lena nodded but didn't smile. She sat down quietly, folding her hands in front of her. There was a heavy silence between them before Mia finally spoke. I messed up," she said. Her voice was trembling. "I lost my job, and I can't pay my bills. My credit cards are all maxed out. I don't know what to do." Lena stayed silent, letting her speak. Mia took a shaky breath. "I know I don't deserve to ask this, but can you help me? Just a little. I'll pay you back, I promise. I just need to get through this month." Lena looked at her for a long moment. Her heart didn't ache the way it used to. There was no anger left, only a quiet truth. She leaned slightly forward and said softly, "The last time I trusted you with money, you stole my future." Mia's face went pale. Her eyes widened and her lips trembled. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time, she looked truly ashamed. "I didn't realize," Mia whispered finally. "I thought I'd make it right someday. I didn't mean to ruin things for you." Lena's voice was steady. "You didn't ruin my life, Mia. You just showed me who you are. And I've been rebuilding ever since." Tears filled Mia's eyes. She reached across the table, but Lena didn't move. The space between them felt heavy with everything unsaid. Years of love, betrayal, and silence. "I'm sorry," Mia said weakly. "I really am." Lena looked at her for another moment, then stood up. "I hope you find your way, Mia," she said quietly. She placed a $5 bill on the table to cover her coffee and turned to leave. As she walked out into the cool evening air, she didn't feel victorious or cold. She just felt free. For the first time since that night years ago, her heart was light. She knew she didn't need revenge or an apology. Her peace was enough, and it was something Mia could never take from her again. As soon as Lena stood up to leave, Mia's calm broke completely. Her shoulders started shaking, and she reached out across the table, her voice cracking. "Please, Lena, don't go." "I'm sorry," she cried. People around them glanced over, but Lena stayed still. She didn't want to embarrass her sister, but she also wasn't going to comfort her this time. Mia wiped at her face, tears streaming down. "I know I was awful to you," she said between sobs. "I didn't think about how much I hurt you. I was stupid and selfish. I thought I could just fix everything later, but I can't. I ruined everything." Her voice broke again. "I never meant to take so much from you. I just wanted things I couldn't have. I didn't realize what I was taking until it was too late. Lena listened silently, her face calm. Inside, she didn't feel anger anymore. There was only quiet, like a storm that had finally passed. She watched Mia fall apart in front of her, and instead of satisfaction, she felt a strange sadness. This wasn't the sister she had grown up with. This was someone lost, broken, and paying for her own mistakes. Mia grabbed the edge of the table, her eyes full of guilt. "Please forgive me," she whispered. "I know I don't deserve it, but I can't live with this guilt anymore. You were the only one who ever believed in me, and I ruined that too." Lena took a deep breath. For a moment, she thought of all the nights she had cried alone, all the pain she had carried in silence. She thought of how her mother never believed her, how she had left home feeling betrayed and alone. Every part of her that used to ache was now still. She finally said softly, "Mia, forgiveness isn't something I can just hand out. It's something you have to earn, mostly from yourself." Mia looked down, her hands trembling. "I know," she said weakly. "I just wanted a chance to make things right." Lena stood there for a moment, then slowly reached for her wallet. She took out a $5 bill and placed it neatly on the table beside her coffee cup. Mia looked up, confused, tears still in her eyes. "This is for my drink," Lena said quietly. "I don't want to owe anyone anything anymore." Her tone wasn't harsh, it was calm, steady, final. She turned and walked away without looking back. The bell above the cafe door chimed softly as she stepped outside. The cool air brushed against her face, and she felt something she hadn't felt in years, freedom. Not the kind that comes from running away, but the kind that comes from letting go. She didn't need to hear more apologies. She didn't need to see regret. The past had already taken enough from her. As she walked down the quiet street, Lena realized she wasn't walking away from Mia. She was walking back to herself. A year later, Lena's life looked completely different. The small apartment she once shared with Sarah was now just a memory. She had finished her nursing program, passed her exams, and finally started working at a hospital in another city. It wasn't an easy journey, but she had done it, all on her own. Every long shift, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt had led her here. She didn't have the same kind of money or luxury Mia once chased, but she had peace, pride, and stability, and that meant everything. Her new city felt like a fresh start. The hospital was busy, full of life and stories, and Lena found purpose in helping people. She worked with patients who reminded her daily why she had fought so hard to get here. The first time she walked through the hospital doors wearing her nurse's badge, she felt a wave of emotion. For years, that had been her dream, and she had reached it without anyone's help but her own. After a few months, she bought herself a small used car. It wasn't fancy, but it ran well and gave her independence. She often drove through quiet streets after work, enjoying the freedom she had earned. There were moments when she thought about the past, about the envelope, the betrayal, the long nights crying, but they didn't hurt the same way anymore. They felt like another lifetime, a lesson that had shaped who she was now. One weekend, her parents came to visit. They brought homemade food and flowers for her new apartment. Her mother hugged her tightly and said, "We're so proud of you, sweetheart. You've come so far." Lena smiled warmly, feeling genuine love for them again, the kind that wasn't weighed down by old pain. During dinner, her father mentioned Mia. "She's still figuring her life out," he said gently. "Things haven't been easy for her. She's trying, though." Lena listened quietly, sipping her tea. For a moment, she thought about her sister, the laughter they once shared as kids, the closeness that had faded over time. She didn't feel anger anymore, just a calm acceptance. She hoped Mia would one day find her own peace too, but Lena knew it wasn't her responsibility to fix her anymore. She smiled softly and said, "I hope she's doing okay." That was all. No bitterness, no judgment, just truth. Her parents nodded, relieved that she didn't hold on to hate. Later that night, after her parents left, Lena stood by her window and looked out at the city lights. They glowed softly in the distance, like tiny stars scattered across the streets. For the first time in years, she felt completely at ease. She had rebuilt her life, piece by piece, from the pain that once tried to break her. And now, she didn't just survive, she was living free from anger, free from the past, and full of quiet strength. That night, after her parents left, Lena continued unpacking the last few boxes in her new apartment. The place was small but warm, filled with sunlight during the day and a peaceful quiet at night. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers, every corner of it built from her own hard work. She opened one of the boxes labeled Old Stuff and began taking out a few memories from her past, books, photo frames, and little keepsakes she had carried from place to place. As she reached the bottom of the box, something small slipped out and fell onto the floor. It was an old photograph, slightly faded at the edges. She picked it up and smiled softly. It was a picture of her and Mia when they were kids, sitting on the front steps of their childhood home, eating ice cream with big smiles on their faces. For a moment, Lena just stared at it. The innocence in their faces, the closeness in their eyes, it reminded her of a time before life got complicated, before money and betrayal tore their bond apart. She ran her fingers over the picture gently. There was no bitterness now, just a quiet sadness mixed with acceptance. She remembered how much she once loved her sister, how deeply she wanted them to succeed together. But some things, she realized, weren't meant to last the same way forever. People grow, change, make mistakes. And sometimes you have to let go to find peace. Lena placed the photo inside a drawer of her bedside table and whispered softly, "Some lessons come with a price." She didn't mean it with anger, just truth. The pain she had gone through had taught her more than any book or teacher ever could. It taught her strength, patience, and the value of self-respect. It taught her that love doesn't always mean staying, and forgiveness doesn't always mean forgetting. She looked around her apartment, the new furniture, the soft glow of the lamp, her nursing books stacked neatly on the desk, and realized how far she had come. The girl who once cried over lost dreams had built new ones from scratch. She no longer needed to prove anything to anyone, especially to those who had doubted or hurt her. Lena walked to the window and looked out at the quiet city below. The night air felt cool and peaceful. She thought about all the people who carry pain in their hearts, waiting for some kind of revenge or closure. She wished they could know what she now understood, that real healing doesn't come from hurting someone back. It comes from rising above, from finding joy again, from creating a life so beautiful that the past no longer has power over you. As she closed the drawer, Lena smiled softly. She didn't hate Mia. She didn't wish her harm. She simply wished her peace, the same peace Lena had finally found. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't payback or punishment. It's living beautifully, knowing you survived, healed, and became someone stronger than the pain that tried to break you.